There, the brand new single by Radiohead. Thom Yorke, welcome to Six Music.
Hi, Tom.
Do you get to listen to much radio at home?
Yeah, I do. Digital radio's great, isn't it?
It is. You've got everything there.
It rocks. It's going to wipe the floor with FM.
I must say, I've only come recently to your music, and the thing that really introduced me to it was There.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, that's my main
God, that's really weird.
introduction to Radiohead, from which I then saw you live, and it's been a bit of a revelation because there's the kind of notorious vein of melancholy.
Yes, apparently.
Which people talk about as a kind of byword. But I get an enormous sense of uplift from coming to see the live show. Although, no question, the songs are melancholic. I was grinning all over my face, and it was a kind of hugely life-affirming kind of show. Do you find that's a universal experience for audiences?
Well, unless we die on the stage, which happens. But I think basically it's just one of those things. I think one of the essential reasons the melancholy thing is there's the way my voice sounds. And even if, we were doing a 4 on the floor thing with 168 BPM, it would still be considered melancholy because that's the range, that's what my voice does if I'm singing. So I don't have a problem with that anymore. I mean, I guess lyrically and stuff as well. I think, it's melancholic. But if there wasn't that sort of sense of assertion at the end of it, it would be utterly pointless.
Oh, absolutely.
Very self-indulgent.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the mix, is because it's not just the kind of Leonard Cohen. There's huge kind of burning anger coming through in a lot of those lyrics and the delivery, and then a really visceral sound to the whole band as well, which transforms it into something else completely. I mean, it seems to me like your secret weapon is actually the drummer. Yeah,
I'd say, because he was. We did a gig a couple of days ago, and he'd done his back, and he wasn't very well, and the difference it makes is massive. It's really scary just because he's in a little bit of pain, and I get so much energy off what Phil does.
Yeah, it kind of underpins the whole heartbeat of the band.
Yeah, totally.
And the other thing he doesn't do is, well, it's kind of what he doesn't do as much as what he does do. He doesn't thrash all the way through.
No.
Brian Eno once said, like, an arrangement is when somebody stops playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Radiohead does that to a T. There's a lot of times on the stage where
people stop, completely. Except me, I'm really trying to get a tune in there where I can go off for 3 minutes, but it's not happened yet. Well, everything's right place. I get to go off at last. I get to go off early, but I know it's peculiar. I'm never aware of what they're doing either. Apparently they stand there, but I'm too busy. I don't.
Yeah. Well, let's go into 2 + 2 = 5, because that gives a good idea of the kind of the range that the song runs through in the course of it on this album. Can you tell me a little about the song?
It was done very quickly. It was done as a test to make sure everything was working. And we just got to the studio and we hadn't eaten, and we just kept asking, can we eat now, please? And Nigel was like, yeah, let's just get this down. And so by the 4th cup of coffee and not eating anything day, it being 3 PM, we just did this thing.
Underhand tactics.
Yeah, exactly. But within a week, couldn't remember having done it, even. Lyrically, it's the same. Hadn't finished it, had to finish it, so just hammered it all in, and it was just one of those things. I don't think we even expected it to get on the record at all. It was kind of like a joke song, really.
Some joke, 2 + 2 = 5. You sound pretty cross there, but obviously if you hadn't eaten, that would explain it.
Yeah, right. I was miffed.
It's like the Peter Gabriel stories of Daniel Lanois shutting him in a room and locking the door and not allowing him to come out until he'd finished the lyric for the song they were trying to record.
Well, might work for me actually. Well, I mean, I guess if the tape's actually rolling, everyone's waiting. Kind of what happened because we were doing it all at the same time. Didn't really have a choice.
How have you managed to kind of sidestep that whole cult of celebrity with which Britain just seems to be increasingly imbued? Or have you? I mean, have you actually suffered from the tabloids?
I don't read them, and do I suffer from them? I don't think so.
You haven't been plastered all over
the
centre page of the News of the World or anything?
Yeah, no. I'd have to actually sort of get a lifestyle that was interesting enough for them to explore, or say something that pisses them off enough. I guess that might happen.
But it is a hungry machine that's just looking for new people to devour all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of sweeties, isn't it? I think it's a sort of tempting world, because you can get hooked onto the celebrity thing, and then the next thing you can sort of take it on and think you can handle it, and then you can't. So I guess it's like smack.
the whole fame thing. Yeah, but I mean, the rewards aren't even... They say that smack is actually quite pleasant to take.
Yeah, well, apparently, yeah.
But I'm not sure the celebrity is.
No, not really. Well, I guess it must be initially. You see, this is the thing, then you need more of it. Oh, I don't know. How we avoided it, I don't know. Maybe we just need to do something glamorous. Well, I have to decide what that was, but I...
Well, no, but I was thinking, particularly getting involved in some of the world debt campaigns and other campaigns, that does raise your profile and put you in the kind of firing line of those kind of people.
Yes, but then I don't feel in any way answerable to them. I don't read anything anybody ever writes about us now, so I don't give a rat's ass monkeys.
Did you ever?
Not really, no. It used to bother me when the sort of just general personal attacks on my personals I found very difficult,
I was really interested in Punch Up at the Wedding, because in that, I mean, I'm just projecting my own stuff onto here. Everybody makes of a lyric what they will, compared to what you necessarily meant. But it seemed to me some of those lines, like, the bully in the china shop, what a great line that was. And... this sort of take the stage. There's an unpublished verse I found on the internet about
really?
Go ahead, the stage is yours if you think you can do better. Is that one of yours?
Oh yeah, that would be me. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Funny enough, they didn't make it in because that gives the game away.
Is it about the press then?
It's not really. No, I think it was sort of a frustration at things being constantly written off. I don't know.
Is it that kind of George Michael Listen Without Prejudice kind of thing?
Not really. God, I hope not.
No, I don't mean in musical terms, but in terms of, for God's sake, don't prejudge this in advance. Listen to what it is.
Oh, no, it was more the fact that it was... I mean, I don't think the song ends up from being there, because it really ended up being a little bit more formless. But the original song was very much pure frustration. We did some show or other, and I happened upon this review of it, and they couldn't slag us off, because they sort of didn't know where to start, really, because it had been quite a good show. So what they decided to do was slag off the entire audience, and it's like, oh, well, they're all students, which wasn't true. And I just found it quite interesting, because it was a very similar experience I had to various Drop the Debt things, where you really just want to go up to someone and ask them, were you actually there? I mean, did you have your head in a bucket in the bar for the whole time? If so, you need help. And they were doing it very much rewriting, like on the Drop the Debt thing. You could have a petition of 6 million people to hand into the GA, yet the mainstream press in Britain, and it was like church groups and stuff that had got these petitions together all around the world, nice middle-aged ladies in cardigans and things, and they were being dismissed as anarchists, and there's no answer back. There's no sort of like next week everybody turn around going, actually, you were wrong about that, apologise.
Yeah.
They never have to apologise. They're always right.
Thank God you have the power to write a song about it and get your own back.
Yeah, I don't know if I get my own back though, unfortunately. I'm sure they'll just have another go. Anyway, but there you go. That's why I don't read any of that nonsense anymore.
Let's take a listen. You're listening to The Evening Sequence. I'm Tom Robinson, and my guest tonight is Thom Yorke. What are the pitfalls of mixing politics and music? I read
many.
Yeah.
But I think it's very, very poisonous, and I really, really didn't want to do it, because music, like any art form, should stay loose. It should never be fixed upon one angle or one thing. But as you say, the record itself is a very angry record, and a lot of that anger is based around those things that are loosely political, although I'm not sure if they are political or humanitarian. It's that left-right nonsense, which is nonsense nowadays.
I was going to say, I mean, listening to it and reading the lyrics, I don't pick up on any kind of specific left is right and right is wrong kind of dogma or anything in there. But at the same time, by having an audience and being at a certain level where people are interested in what you say, and certain things being patently out of kilter in the outside world, do you feel that it behoves you to at least say what you think?
Well, this is the key, because it's not like it behoves me, because that implies I have the head the size of Ireland or something.
I don't think it's like that, but I think it's like a parabolic mirror. If the audience are all looking your way, you can reflect their concerns back to them.
But I don't think that's necessarily to do with the audience or anything. I think it's just the fact that this is what's there. This is what's in front of me. We have this very beautiful music that's going on, and it's really got a life force of its own. And these words are coming because this is what I've got in front of me. This is what there is. This is what's going on for me now. And, you know, that's all I've got to work with anyway. And it just happened that there's just a lot of tumult going on at the moment, whether you consider it to be political or not political. It's there, you know, and if you try, like I was doing for most of the time, trying not to write about it, it's just infecting it anyway. But I do absolutely agree that politics and music are a fairly poisonous combination.
In terms of the relationship with the audience, though, which we touched on briefly there, that also seemed kind of key to me, to the whole experience, that you communicate directly with the audience, bypassing the channels of media and whatever, much more than most other bands. How do you kind of achieve that level of intimacy now the audience has grown so big?
It's not something I've thought a lot about, actually. Maybe I should.
Well, I think the fact that there's over 1,000 Radiohead fan sites around the world, it's just phenomenal by any standards numerically, but also the quality of interest, and just like, you know, back in '97 when you appeared at Glastonbury, looking at the footage of that, and the kind of love that's pouring off in waves off the audience towards you, and the way that you respond and react to it. I mean, there is a pretty close bond there.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, because to me, the whole point of making music is basically a love thing anyway. It's a positive thing to do, whether it's No Surprises or whether it's Mixomatosis, whatever. This to me is like, when a music's good, it's got love in it, and it's got sex in it, and it's got everything. It's in there. It's all in there. And you're desperately trying to get that through to people, and when it works, it works. And with the people who like our music, I think that it's just, I guess the coolest thing about it is the ways they're just open to the fact that we're just going off doing our thing. They're also cool with the fact that I have to, personally speaking, I'm very open about the fact I'm ignoring the expectations that they might have, or anybody might have.
Yeah, there might be pressure to repeat yourself.
Yeah, and hopefully we've developed an understanding where, you know, where that's allowed to occur, because that's kind of what should happen, I think, really, with everybody. Once you feel that you have to sort of fill a gap in your market, whatever it is, then you've kind of lost the plot anyway.
Wolf at the Door has the line about, "Is going to mess me up, steal my children if I don't pay the ransom," which kind of made me think of that moment of your home is at risk if you do not keep up repayments.
Yeah, which has always been one of my favourite phrases in the English language, because it's like, it's just so inconspicuous at the bottom of the advert. Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that whole song is just a series of nightmares. It was a particularly weird time for me when I wrote that. Pretty bad.
You're listening to The Evening Sequence. I'm Tom Robinson, and that was Wolf at the Door by Radiohead, whose new album Hail to the Thief comes out next Monday, and whose singer Thom is my studio guest this evening. I did some soundings among friends of mine who were more familiar with your music than I was, and they wanted to know why there were so many songs that you've written, so many great songs that you've written, and that the fans are intimately familiar with, that have never seen the light of day.
No, I absolutely agree. It's really frustrating. Oh my God, you've got a list.
Lift? No. I just
Okay.
selected 4 of them. Lift, True Love Waits, Follow Me Around, and I Promise.
Oh, I Promise. Jagger.
Why weren't they on the album?
Yes. Oh. Well, you know, we'll sort it out. True Love Waits, we sort of did do a version of it, which is pretty good. I mean, it's just an acoustic song, really, basically. And the others are songs that we've had kicking around since OK Computer, I think, and there's lots of others beside those. And it's really just a thing where songs have certain times that they choose to come out, and you can't just sort of sit there and say, we've got to do this now, and expect it to work. But yeah, I think we have been a bit lazy. The weird thing about songwriting, I think, is that it's a little bit like videotape, you know, and it records a certain moment, and then if you don't sort it out there and then and get that coherence down on tape, you may lose the opportunity to do it for a long time, because that particular moment may not make any sense to you again for a long time. And truth be told, I think that if, like, for example, a song like Lift made sense to us, we would be able to do it there and then. But we're still struggling with why we wrote it, you know, and trying to understand it. But there's songs on this record, like I Will, for example, which is quite old. It's just after OK Computer, and so Sit Down, Stand Up. And we didn't know what to do with it. It didn't make any sense. We did an appalling version of it, you know, and then suddenly one day, like, well, we should do it just very simply, or we should just do it like this, you know. So it's just a battle that's just one of the things.
These recording sessions were done in Los Angeles. They do have a fondness for LA.
Glamour.
It just didn't seem to make sense.
Oh, well, it's a really cool studio. I mean, it's where the Beach Boys were, and La La La, and they've kept all the gear, which is like, you know, we're kind of into that sometimes, you know. And Nigel's happy there. He likes it. He's confident. He knows what he's doing. We only had 2 weeks. And it was sort of a bit like holiday camp. But also it was glamorous, which was the main bit. And we got to, like, hire matching minis with Union Jacks on and drive to the studio and drive back to the hotel. It was wicked.
But let me just pick you up on that. 2 weeks? You made the whole album in 2 weeks?
Well, no, we did a lot of it, a lot of the initial tracking. But then we had another, I don't know, like 4-5 weeks split up in our own studio after that. But that was sort of where the energy came from, was those first 2 weeks, really.
Well, that's still a pretty short.
It was a track a day, so that was pretty hectic for us.
By most musicians' standards, that's actually pretty fast to make an album.
But it's good, you know, because you just got to get it right, and if you don't get it right, too late.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of too late bit that can be really good, because that's the stuff that actually, you know, it could end up being your mistakes that usually end up being either incredibly ugly or really beautiful. So
honour thine error as a hidden intention.
Absolutely, yes. Pretend you meant it all along.
Apparently David Bowie and Brian Eno, when they were making Lodger, went into the studio and they got the musicians to do lots of takes of everything. Then they found the one with the most mistakes in it, and then they found the verse with the most mistakes in it, and then they copied it 24 to 24 and then stitched it all together, and that became the song.
Well, I mean, that would certainly work with rhythm section stuff, because you can, like, if you copy a mistake enough times, it develops its own swing. Definitely.
You collaborated with Björk before making this album. Now, I've always wanted
and Polly Harvey as well.
I've always wanted to meet somebody who'd met Björk, actually, and ask.
You should just meet her.
I don't know if I could do.
Yeah, you can.
You think I could?
Oh yeah.
I'd love to meet her, but what's the proper way to pronounce her full name?
Björk.
But Goodman's-Dottir is...
Oh, I don't know. I didn't get that far.
You didn't. You weren't on. on surname terms with her.
There's no use to use surnames. No, there wasn't.
What was she like to work with?
Great. She's a fantastic musician. Like, totally terrifyingly good.
And in terms of her performance,
same. It's just, you know, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And what about Polly?
Same. You know. I mean, I really like just being on other people's sessions. It's really inspiring. You're like,
You get a different way of working from them.
Yeah, you just, it's just nice to watch someone else getting on with it, going through all the difficult bits and then the really easy bits and the bits that they find very easy that perhaps you don't. And it's just really informative. It's always really inspiring.
Well, let's hear a bit of that inspiration. From PJ Harvey's Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea, here's This Mess We're In. PJ Harvey with Thom Yorke, who's my guest tonight on the Evening Sequence. So, the vexed question of MP3s. Is file sharing piracy? That's what the record companies like to call it.
Yeah. Well, you see, the one side of it is if you choose to introduce the digital technology, like CDs, and then charge ridiculously overinflated prices for them, remaster them and repackage and base your entire industry in many, many millions and keep your shareholders happy, ripping people off for years, reselling the old vinyl again and blah, 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 blah. And if you take control of the distribution and then you shut down all the good indie stores and you do all that, one day you're going to get some pretty bad karma coming your way. And I do think they're sort of getting it now, really. And I think that even they realise that. And the nature of the digital technology is it's basically impossible to police because it can always be cracked.
Is this album digitally protected?
It is, I think, but that hasn't stopped anything, really.
I understand some MP3s of unfinished tracks.
Yeah,
circulation.
Yeah, that was very frustrating because regardless of the is it piracy thing, the only thing that I found frustrating about this was the fact that the album in an unfinished form was on the net through almost 3 months. Was it 3 months? Something like that, before it actually comes out. And to me that seems crazy. And it seems crazy that you have to wait so long after you finished a record for it to actually come out. Just utter nonsense. And a lot of that is based around the media, long lead press, and all this sort of like whooping everybody up into this big froth that nobody really gives a monkey's about, you know. Lots of lifestyle magazine articles that aren't very interesting at all, and things like that.
But then aren't you the beneficiary of that in the long run?
Yeah, but it's not very good for you. I mean, it's very stressful, and it's not. It's kind of like it's froth. It's kind of nonsense.
Have you at any point withdrawn from that and said, well, look, I'm going to put this record out without any froth and just...
Well, Kiddo was a bit like that. But the interesting thing is because the way that everything is structured at the moment, you release... and unfortunately, fortunately, the level of anticipation on the last sort of 3 or 4 records we've done, when you choose not to give people your a little bit of your time because you don't want to for your own reasons, because you think you're going to crack up if you have to do it, then everyone takes massive offence of that. And it's extremely difficult to say no to things like that, because it means that you just have endless meetings that are really, really stressful, saying, I'm not doing this. But if you don't do this, then you can't get this, and then you won't be able to do this, and you sort of, you open this can of worms, and anyway, it's all kind of not very interesting to anybody else, I don't think, really.
It'd be interesting, though, if you could see some future vision one day where it could just be about the music.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're taking notes, because we're working very much within the fact that we have this very normal contract with EMI Records, and we're doing the very normal things. But we're taking notes.
I suppose you can't really bite the hand that rocks the cradle, but have you had bad experiences with record companies, or do you know of musicians who've had... I do know of musicians who've had bad experiences, yes. Everybody, pretty much. There's the Courtney Love kind of school of the record companies rip all artists off.
It is kind of the worst bank loan you could possibly imagine. And if you just could actually secure the bank loan, then that would be all right. But we've been well jammy, to be honest. But we've only been well jammy because actually we're still managing to flog records. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason that we're all still here. But it's utterly ridiculous. What I really don't like is when they go through these culling periods, where they just cull or whatever they've got and fire everybody and then do it all again, like any corporation. The corporate element of it, I just find absolutely mind-boggling. But yeah, what can you do?
How long does the contract have to run?
Oh, this is it.
This is the last album?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
You're taking notes, but you haven't made any...
No, we've made no official decisions yet. We're going to...
Pick a track from the album for us to go out with.
Oh, I'd say Mixomatosis, actually, if that's all right.
Absolutely, that's all right.
Cool.
That was pretty scathing live. At Shepherd's Bush. Did you enjoy Shepherd's Bush, by the way?
I did. It was Saturday. And which one did you come to?
I came to Saturday.
Oh, Saturday was great. Yeah, it was a good show. Good fun.
What happened Sunday?
It was being filmed a little bit, so it was a bit odd. Threw us a bit, and Phil was not feeling too well, and it was very stressful for some reason. But then it was cool in the end, But it's a great venue. You can hear what's going on. Everybody's chilled out. I mean, it was a London show, but people were chilled out. It was cool.
When will British fans get a chance to see the band?
I think it's October or November, something like that.
What size venues are you doing?
Big.
How big?
Earls Court, big.
18,000 a night.
Well, no. We're not using the whole of it. We're going to cut it off a bit because that's too much.
That is always the problem when a band becomes so popular.
Yeah.
Either you thrash yourself out playing Shepherd's Bush Empire 15 times, or you have to play the bigger venues.
Well, yeah, but I'm sort of actually quite into it, actually, because we got some pretty cool lighting things that we want to try.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear how something like Stand Up, Sit Down works in a bigger venue like that. It was great at Shepherd's Bush. Anyway, we'll play out with that. I'll see you in the autumn.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in,
Thanks,
Thom.
man.